been married for 3 years and they are not few. If you think they are, it's up to you. But 3 years in marriage is not, it's not a joke. So, sometimes we compare ourselves like, the other people are married, have been married for 10 years. Maybe they know more, they know better, they've outgrown some things. Others have been married 50 years, they know each other very well, they know it all, they don't argue, they don't, collide. But it's a lie. Marriage is marriage. Whether you've been married for a day, for a month, for a year or years, So I've been married for 3 years. We made 3 years in December last year. And so I'm just going to be sharing a few things that I've learned, that I've observed, and that I've, seen in the 3 years. And this is not just for married people to maybe relate to if they are going through the same, but also for singles, for singles who are looking forward to getting married. The kind of content I bring you on my channel is to really prepare you in advance, to open your eyes in advance, to answer some of those questions and, those thoughts that you normally have, maybe about marriage, about relationships. So I share freely and from my heart, and what I'm going to do is still sharing from my experience. Some of you know that I have my blue book where I write content, before I share information with you. I make sure I don't leave out anything. So I sit down in my time, my free time, quiet time. I write down things. I write down information. I make sure I don't leave out, anything, because I want you to learn from me. If you're not yet married, to learn from you and me, and pick what you want. So I'm going to be sharing a few things that I've learned about, marriage in the 3 years I've been there. As human beings, that is now number one. As human beings, sometimes we talk to people, communicate with them, but our interest is in responding, giving our view, just replying. So most times when you're talking to someone, you're talking to your spouse, and all they're doing is hearing you talk. They're not really listening to you. Now in communication, there are like 3 things. You have to hear the person, listen to them, listen really, really well to what they're saying, and be able to respond or give a reply. So sometimes we listen, we hear or communicate, just respond. We don't give it much attention. Someone is talking to you, maybe you're discussing something, and the person can't wait for you to mention the last word, and they just respond. I'll tell you what they were thinking. So in marriage, communication is such a big deal. It's an issue. And imagine if you were to talk to someone and think you're having a conversation with them, only for them to just respond something that is maybe off, or they respond in a way that you honestly feel like they weren't listening, from the beginning. So that's one of the things I've learned. But it's common in human beings, not just in marriage. It's common, among your friends. I'm sure there are friends you have where you normally talk to them, maybe on the phone or physically. They're present, they're available, only to get them to respond to you and communicate back. But you can easily tell. Yeah, that is one of the lessons I've learned. And the second is, apart from Satan, social media is an enemy in marriage. Honestly speaking, sometimes married people post things. Okay, it's not just about posting, but I'm coming to that. Married people post things maybe on their social media platforms, their personal, social media platforms or walls or statuses, that cause the other spouse to question. Now I'm saying I'm sharing from experience, but I'm not everything exactly like what my husband is doing. It's not like I'm reporting him or something, but I know that apart from Satan being an enemy to our marriages, which is one thing we should all know, Satan fights everything good that God has created, that God has, founded. So you find that you are with your husband or wife, you're together, maybe you're sitting in your living room, or you're out together, you've gone out for a date, but you find both of you on your phones. you're busy on your phones, on social media, definitely, like automatically you're either on TikTok, you're WhatsApping, you're having a good time and, laughing on your phone, and yet there's someone physically present right next to you, but you're both in your own world. So apart from Saturn, social media has really taken and disorganized relationships. It has like interrupted that bond, that that good feeling you get when you're with someone you love. So there's a way social media has interrupted. Technology has really got in the way. The other lesson is finances are never enough. Trust me, even if you're making how much, both of you, once you are married, finances are not enough, because expenses increase, responsibilities increase, whether you have children or not. Just in marriage, finances are not enough, and that is why finances are actually one of the major causes of issues in a marriage. Yeah. So when it comes to finances, what I've learned is you have to know your priorities, what things you want to spend on, how much you want to spend on them. You prioritize, and when you get money, you start, clearing them, taking them off. And again, it's not just about taking care of your expenses. You have to actually agree on saving money somewhere. Maybe you belong to an investment club or savings group, but make sure you're not all your earning is going into expenses. Finances in marriage are a big deal. So you have to agree as a couple on how to spend your money, how to save it, and how to take care of the different, expenses. Even if it means writing down every day, like on a daily basis, what you are spending on, so that you, at the end of the month, you're able to, total up and see how much of the money you earn on a monthly basis are you putting into expenses, the day-to-day expenses, even if it is sugar, even if it is transport, even if it is lunch. It helps you to know how many times maybe a week you're buying bread. You might realize you're buying bread 3 times a week, and bread is not cheap, honestly. So you will eventually find ways of reducing expenses in this area, and maybe substituting something cheaper, a good cheaper alternative, that can still work for you. The other lesson I've learned is, in marriage, you have to learn and train yourselves, both of you. I know men are not, they don't easily open up, but in marriage, you have to learn to open up and talk to your spouse, talk to your wife, talk to your husband. In marriage, you have to learn and train yourself to talk about anything and everything, how your day has been, how your tomorrow is going to be. Like, you have to know each other's footsteps. You have to know what's happening in each other's lives, either at work or, outside work, maybe in the friend circles and all. In marriage, you have to learn to share each other's lives, each other's struggles, so that you have you have someone to lean on, you have someone who backs you up, you have someone who is looking out for you. You're accountable to that person. So it's a very good thing, and it's very important. Imagine if a friend of your spouse was to come and spoil your spouse on you. You know what I mean? Like, they bring maybe rumors, they bring you wrong information. They tell you wrong information about your spouse. If you already know and you're sharing every information, like if you're always, up to date with what's happening in your spouse's life, maybe at work or in their friend circles, you will easily not get, overwhelmed by such information, negative information. It's easier. But if it's the other way around, like you have no idea what's happening in your husband's or wife's life, it will be hard, and you can easily believe what this person is saying the first time you hear it. So it kind of shields you, but also the power of talking about anything and everything is like an encouragement and assurance that there's someone who knows you, there's someone who cares about you, there's someone who will listen to you without judging, there's someone who's got your back, you know what I mean? Yeah, so the other thing which should have been number one is actually, as a couple, you will not always agree on everything. You're two different people, you've been raised from different backgrounds, you have different beliefs. I hope the spiritual belief is the same which is a very good and important point. But on other things, really, you find yourselves not always agreeing, on most things you might not agree. So in marriage, if that is happening, which will definitely happen, you have to always somehow, if there's something really important, you have to always find a common ground. Otherwise, expect that. If you're not yet married, expect it. If you're married, let me know if you also go through that and how do you actually handle it. Yeah, so it is good to come to a consensus, come to an agreement, and you're like, okay, if we do this, if we go for this, what are the pros, what are the cons, and then you choose what is best out of the different options that you have. The other thing that I've learned that I've noticed is sometimes you wake up in the same bed in the morning, but you forget to pray. Whether you're Christians or not, it just happens. Sometimes it happens. But one of the very important things in marriage is you should be able to count on your spouse to cover you in prayer. Count on your spouse to pray for you. Count on them. Like if you have something you're going through, maybe you have a journey, maybe you have an interview, maybe you have a presentation at work, that is the number one person you can count on when it comes to praying for you. The other fact is that each couple in marriage, all the different couples in marriage are different. Yeah, we are not the same. So sometimes you find yourself comparing, your couple, you're comparing yourselves with another couple. But just know wherever they are, however they might look out, on the outside appearance or in the public, might not be the same at home. Things might be different. So before you admire or compare yourselves or yourself or compare your husband, your wife with someone else, just do a check. Everyone is different, and so every marriage is different, every couple is different. So sometimes you find it natural to admire and compare yourselves with some other couple. But just know things are different. So take it one day at a time. Just be appreciative of each other, push each other to be better, support each other. You will surely get there. You make a choice to have the kind of marriage that you desire to have. It's a choice. Like you just have to wait on it. Yes, there are small things in marriage that make people fight. Now, this I've not gone through it, but even when I was still single, I used to hear that some people fight about how to use toothpaste. Can you imagine, like, maybe this person presses it from the middle, the other presses it from the end? Like, can you imagine such a small petty thing can cause some people to have an argument in marriage? So the other lesson I've learned is not let small petty things come between us, not let them cause issues or make me angry or sad. Life is too short to just be angry over a small petty thing that won't even lead you anywhere, that won't build your marriage.